Hey, it's a special Friday edition of Breaking the Huddle with me, Joel Klatt, here at Spartan Stadium. Our show is sponsored by Dr. Pepper. At every home gate and tailgate, it is the one that fans crave. And I got to tell you, the fireplace was giving us some nice little warmth there from the Jumbotron. So appreciate that from the Michigan State folks here. So here's what we're going to do today. A special behind-the-scenes look at the field here at Spartan Stadium, award-winning field that is right now under a giant tarp that is being heated and dried under that tarp. It's amazing. It snowed here overnight on Thursday night. It's about 28, 32 degrees right in there, so it's pretty cold, and the field conditions here are going to be really solid tomorrow. There's no doubt about it, but in part because of the fact that their staff here is so great. Have you ever wondered what it takes to have a natural grass field, what it takes to put on a game in the elements? Well, let's get to it. All right, right over here, we've got the assistant athletic director and the person that is the head honcho when it comes to the grounds, the field conditions here at Spartan Stadium. It's Amy Foudy from Michigan State. Amy, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
It's, first of all, awesome to be here. It's going to be a huge game, noon on Fox, Ohio State in town to take on the Spartans. And Amy, the field conditions are going to be a topic. Why? Because it's November and it's in Michigan. How difficult is it, first and foremost, to get a field ready after you've had a wet, rainy game against Michigan? Now you get some snow this week. Take us into what goes on.
Well, we did have a little bit of sodding to do that we did around the bench areas and some areas that were damaged. But for the most part, the playing surface was intact and it was good. We just needed to do a little bit of work on it, smooth her back out, and it was all good.
Okay, so Amy is going to be humble, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is one of the best fields in America. And when it comes to the natural grass fields around the country, there's only a handful anymore because everyone has gone to the synthetic turf. But of the ones that are still natural grass, they hand out an award for the best turf field, regular grass field in the country. You guys have won that award here. How many times?
Yeah, we have received the Sports Turf Managers Association Collegiate Football Field of the Year twice in 15 years here.
You gotta love that. By the way, I am a former groundskeeper at a high school football stadium back in my minor league days, so this stuff to me is like super interesting. I absolutely love it. You might be wondering, what in the world are they doing? Why is the tarp being blown? Is this just like the wind? Is it a windy day? Not really. The wind is actually not really blowing here at Spartan Stadium right now on a Friday. But Amy, what are you doing right now? Because this is the heaters that you've got blowing the tarp up. What's going on?
Yeah, we call this old school NFL. Back in the day when the guys didn't have heat, they would take heaters and blowers and blow heat under the tarp to keep the field warm and from freezing. So that's what we're doing here today. We're just blowing some air, trying to get that moisture out of the ground, evaporate it out a little bit. And so it's a nice little ripple most of the day, and then we'll keep going through the nighttime.
So these will work all night and basically up until game time, until the players step onto the field. This tarp will be out here to make sure that it doesn't freeze, to make sure that you're drying it out, everything along those lines?
Absolutely. That's the game plan.
Now, I got to ask you about the conditions as it relates to the field after a wet game like Michigan. We had the rain. Remember, we had the delay. Gus and I were here with Jenny Taft. We had the delay. You have the wet conditions. How difficult is it after a game like that to get the field back and ready to go?
It can be really challenging because you have two sets of warm-ups. You have just wet conditions. The guys chew it up a bit during the game. They're not really getting into the field, but they're just chewing up that surface, the wet surface with their cleats.
Speaking of chewing up the surface, let's go back. It was 3 weeks ago, and Devin Bush from Michigan, their star middle linebacker, decided that he was going to have a little, cleat attack on the Spartan at the 50-yard line. This is before the game as he's chewing up the field. And Amy Foudy and her staff did a remarkable job of not only getting out there to make sure that this field looked good, but to repaint the 50-yard line. So when that happened, who alerted you that something was going on, and how quickly did you realize you had to get out there to fix what was going on at the 50?
We were standing here observing the entire situation, and we walked out, took a look at it. He really didn't do that much damage. This field's pretty solid. It looked a great deal worse than it actually was.
So you knew you just needed a little lipstick, right? You just need a little paint, fix his cleat marks, and then you're good to go.
I was more embarrassed for the kid. The field was fine.
Field was fine. You got to love that. Now, when it comes to tomorrow, are there any concerns for you about the field tomorrow, or is it holding up pretty good right now?
Well, it's November. It's football in November, so it's a little thin right now, and we have 2 more this game and another game, Rutgers, in a couple weeks. But that's just football in the North. You're going to play on a field that probably isn't real pretty, but as long as it plays well and it's safe for the players, it is good to go.
Look at this. We're going to get blown away here by the heaters. By the way, I was wondering if it was going to be like warm because I'm from California, so I'm freezing my butt off. And I thought to myself, if the heaters are blowing, maybe I'm just going to crawl under the tarp and actually get warm. But it's not quite as hot and cozy under there as I thought. Just a lot of air moving around.
Correct.
Amy Foudy, thank you so much for being with us today. It's a really cool look at what goes on here at Spartan Stadium.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You bet. Absolutely. Okay. Now I got to show you one of the really unique parts and places of this stadium that come into play every single week when they have a home game here at Spartan Stadium. Let's go take a look at where the teams go face-to-face. All right, so we've made our way down to the tunnel here at Spartan Stadium. You know why it's unique? Both teams come out of the same tunnel. Check it out. We got a locker room on one side of the tunnel, and we got the other locker room right on the other side. And trust me when I tell you, this is a tight corridor when you're talking about 75, 100 guys coming out here as football players ready to do battle out on that field. It can get rocking. So they got to keep one team in their locker room while the other one comes out, or keep this one. And if they come out at the same time, woo, watch out. You're going to have some fireworks in this tunnel. There's rest assured. And this, is, like I said, is one of the more unique places in the country because most everybody has a different area for the road team to come out where the home team comes out. Notre Dame is like this. Spartan Stadium is like this. Maybe a couple others, but so unique. So you've got to keep your emotions in check. Trust me when I tell you, the strength coaches will generally come out and they'll try to form a barrier. The strength coaches from the other team are going to come out and just try to make sure that everyone stays separate because the last thing you need is a fight breaking out in the tunnel unless, of course, you're Notre Dame and Miami of the late 80s, early 90s because that was awesome. But once you hit the tunnel, I've always felt like that was the most exciting part of the week as a football player. You get into this tunnel and you can feel it. Okay, the sound echoes. You can maybe hear it a little bit. It echoes in general in this tunnel, but you can start to feel it. You can hear the band, you can hear the crowd, and it starts to hit your chest a little bit, and there's just no more exciting time in the entire week than right now when you're about to head out there with your teammates and do battle for a win. So you hit this point, and then it's on. Oh, that's when it hits you. Right now. Bang! The band strikes up, you hit the field, and it's like you're floating across that award-winning turf out there brought to you by Amy Foudy. Oh, I can't wait. Noon Eastern on Fox. Gus, Jenny Taft, myself, we're going to have the game Ohio State and Michigan State. A couple of thoughts for this game. Let's get into it. First and foremost, this Ohio State team, they need this win desperately to maintain any hope of potentially winning the Big Ten championship, maybe sneaking into the playoff. It rests on the fact that they've got to win here tomorrow at noon at Spartan Stadium. Now, this Michigan State team, they actually still have an outside shot at winning the division and potentially winning the Big Ten. That's right. There is still a shot. They would need Michigan to lose twice, one of those to be Ohio State, and then they would need to beat Ohio State here tomorrow to force a three-way tie. In that case, Michigan State would go to the Big Ten championship. In order for that to happen, here's what has to happen. Brian Lewerke has got to play better than he has in his 2 previous starts. Now remember, Brian's dealing with a little bit of a shoulder injury right now. Has affected him. He was not very efficient against Michigan. He was better but not very efficient against Maryland last week in a win, so their run game is going to have to be great. I mean great. They're without L.J. Scott. We'll see if he can go. probably not going to be in the backfield, but that run game, which got on track last week, is going to have to be very good against Ohio State. The offensive line, by the way, they were pretty good last week, didn't give up a sack. They're doing a nice job of keeping their injured quarterback clean in the pocket. They're going to need to do more of the same. Move him out of the pocket, get the ball out on 3 steps, quickly out of his hand. All of those things are going to be imperative for Michigan State offensively against an Ohio State defense which has struggled, admittedly, during the course of this season. They've given up far too many big plays. In fact, when you look at the big plays, they've given up 15 plays of 40 or more yards this year. That's more than they had given up in the previous 2 seasons combined. They've got to get better at tackling in the back end. One of the things that you're going to be looking at is Brendan White. Brendan White is a guy that came into the game last week who was a backup safety. He had 13 tackles and led the Ohio State Buckeyes in tackles last week. Really solid player. We'll see how he plays tomorrow and what will he be his first significant action on the road. That's that matchup. Now we go over to the other side. Dwayne Haskins, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. In fact, the second leading passer in the country. Didn't have his best game a week ago, but what happened for Ohio State? They got the run game going against Nebraska, ran it for over 200 yards. Mike Weber, J.K. Dobbins finally started getting it going on the ground. They're going to need to do more of the same, but it's going to be really tough because Michigan State's defense is the best in the country at stopping the run. The best in the country. Penn State got loose on them a little bit in that ball game. But other than that, Michigan State has given up next to nothing on the ground. I actually think that even in the elements, it's going to be about 30 degrees, wind whipping around, some snowflakes falling. Dwayne Haskins is going to have to play great football. This is going to be on his shoulders because that Michigan State defense is too good against the run. If he can throw it efficiently to that good core veteran group of wide receivers, Ohio State's going to have a great chance to win this ball game. I cannot wait to watch this thing play out. Mark D'Antonio, Urban Meyer, noon on Fox. Watch it. This game is going to be one for the ages. I have a really good hunch on. Hey, this has been Breaking the Huddle on a Friday. Special edition, a little behind-the-scenes look at what they've got going on with the turf. We're getting it heated up right now. They're going to have these on all night. It's going to be phenomenal. Our show, by the way, is always brought to you and sponsored by Dr. Pepper. At every home gate and tailgate, it is the one that fans crave. Appreciate you joining me here on a Friday. Make sure to turn in tomorrow, noon, Fox. It's Michigan State. It's Ohio State.